Good morning, classmates, and good morning, Doc. So, for our topic, we're going to discuss the gram staining or the grams method. So, for the learning objectives, we need to learn how to perform the gram staining procedure, identify the gram staining reaction, and distinguish the fundamental shapes of bacteria. And for the short history or a brief history, the method is named after its inventor, the Danish scientist. His name was Hans Christian Gram. In 1884, while examining the lung tissue from patients who had died of pneumonia, Gram had discovered that certain stains were especially taken up and retained by bacterial cells. So, what is gram staining? A Gram's method of differentiating bacterial species into large groups. Gram staining differentiates bacteria by the chemical and physical properties of their cell walls. Again, it's a common technique used to differentiate the two large group of bacteria, which is the gram positive and the gram negative, based on their differentiable constituents.
Materials and reagent. Number 1. What is glass slide and used for? Glass slide is a thin, flat, rectangular piece of glass and that is used as a platform for microscopic specimen observation. It holds object for examination under a microscope. The next one is alcohol lamp. An alcohol burner, or they call it spirit lamp, that made from brass, glass, stainless steel or aluminum. It used for heating, sterilization, and combustion in a laboratory. The alcohol lamp uses ethyl alcohol as a fuel. The other one is microscope with oil immersion. So which microscope uses immersion oil? Microscope immersion oil is used in light microscopy, a technique used to increase the resolving power of a microscope. The use of microscope immersion oil as part of a microscope lens system will produce a brighter and sharper image or improved imaging. Lastly is the inoculation loops. A tool usually made of platinum or nichrome wire. This tool is handy for use in inoculation or cultivation of microorganisms, as it can be easily sterilized over a flame when transferring microorganisms, consequently preventing or reducing chances of cross-contamination. There are 4 gram staining reagents. Number 1 is crystal violet. In the gram staining method, crystal violet or metal violet is used to differentiate between gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. Example is into the dye paper. The second one is grams iodine. This is an agent that fixes the crystal violet to bacterial cell wall. The third one is 95% ethyl alcohol. A reagent used is qualitative procedures to differentiate gram-negative and gram-positive organisms. And lastly is the sufranin, a biological stain used as a counter-stain in some staining protocols, coloring cell nuclei red. It can also be used for the detection of cartilage, mucin, and mast cell granules.
So now I am going to elaborate the step-by-step process of preparation and procedure of gram staining. So I'm going to start with the preparation. So first, take a clean glass slide and gently heat one side. Always remember that we need to hold along the edges to prevent recontamination with grease from our fingertips. And then lay it on the table with the flame side up. Next, sterilize the wire loop from the alcohol lamp until it is red hot. Note that if this specimen is growing on solid media, pick a small colony and emulsify in a drop of distilled water in the center of the slide. And if this specimen is in liquid media, take 1 to 2 loopfuls of the culture and spread over the center of the slide over area of 1 inch by 1/2 inch. Next, fix with heat by passing the slide 6 times over the flame. It will allow the preparation to adhere the slide and not be washed off during the staining process. And lastly, stain the preparation with the desired staining method. Now I am going to elaborate the procedure of gram staining. First, make a thin smear of this specimen and then cover the whole smear with few drops of crystal violet for 1 minute. Next, gently wash off the excess stain with water until no more stain comes off. Next, put a few drops of grams iodine over the smear and let stand for 1 minute. And then, wash off iodine with water. Next, flood the smear with 95% alcohol and let it stand for 15 to 30 seconds. We need to repeat this step until no more color comes off with the alcohol. And then, wash it with water. Next, counter stain with safranin for 30 seconds. And lastly, air dry and examine in the microscope using oil immersion objective.
Gram-negative bacteria. Gram-negative bacteria are bacteria that do not retain the crystal violet stain in gram staining method of bacterial differentiation. It have an outer membrane of phospholipids and bacterial. There is lipopolysaccharides outside of their thin peptidoglycan layer. The space between the outer membrane and the peptidoglycan layer is called the periplasmic space. In gram-positive bacteria, it have a thick peptidoglycan layer and no outer lipid membrane. It is in contrast to what I've said earlier in gram-negative bacteria. In gram-positive bacteria, peptidoglycan is a polymer consisting of sugar amino acids that form a mesh like outside the plasma membrane of bacteria forming cell wall. In gram-positive bacteria, between the cell wall and cell membrane, there is membrane teichoic acid. In addition, in gram-positive bacteria, it is either purple or blue in color, while in gram-negative bacteria, it is either pink or red in color.
In gram staining procedure, it only contains 4 easy steps. So, first, before you memorize those steps, you need to memorize the bias. So, the bias is crystal violet, gram iodine, alcohol wash, and safranin. So, first, the sample, you need to stain it with the crystal violet. And then, after that, to more than the color, you need to apply the gram iodine for more than color. And the third one is the alcohol wash for decolorization. And the fourth one is application of safranin for counter the stain. So that's all for the gram staining procedure. So I hope you all enjoyed the report and thank you for listening.